When my daughter Drew was born, someone asked me what I hoped she'd inherit from me. I said, my drive to grow and the belief that I can. That belief carried me through a difficult childhood. It pushed me to pay my way through college, build a six-figure sales career, and work through my trauma to become a loving husband, foster parent, and community builder. That belief is the best thing I have to give her. But this podcast isn't about me. It's for her. Instead of telling her my story, I'm sharing the stories of remarkable women. Women who've overcome, who've built, who've healed, who've thrived. Each episode is an interview with a woman who inspires me, and who I hope will inspire Drew someday too. Because one day she'll be a young woman carving out her own life, and she might not want to hear advice from her dad. But when that day comes, I hope she listens to these voices and remembers that she can become whoever she wants to be, and she can overcome anything. They say it takes a village, so I'm building one. A village of women who are redefining what it means to be ladylike. This is Ladylike, the Girl Dad podcast. Hey y'all, welcome back to Ladylike. I'm Anton. Today I sat down with Hallie Graves. She's an incredible woman whose life keeps answering the same question. What does love look like when it's inconvenient? Hallie's worn lots of hats. She's an advocate for the foster care system. She's a foster mother, adopted mother, community builder, attorney, and a lot of other things. And through every season, she's chosen people over polish. In this episode, we talk about her journey through law school. We talk about musical theater and foster and adoptive care. It's really a great time, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. But I'm going to roll right into the Dear Drew, and then we'll go from there. Dear Drew, today Hallie showed me what love looks like when real life is messy. It looks like a shaky yes, opening the door before you feel ready. It looks like presence over polish, answering the text, sitting on the floor holding a baby at midnight because someone needs a safe place now. It looks like the truth with tenderness, using your voice in rooms where power is loud and kindness is rare. It looks like asking for help and building a table long enough for everyone who shows up. And it looks like doing the next faithful thing. When the 5-year plan is blurry, take the next step. I can't promise I'll get this right, but I'll practice with you. Choose the person over the plan. Say the small yes. Tell the truth kindly. Ask for help. Rest when tired, and start again tomorrow. Love, Dad. Welcome back to Ladylike. I'm Anton. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm joined by Hallie Graves. Hallie is incredible. She's a foster mother, adoptive mother, and lawyer, doing amazing things in the world, and someone that I would definitely be proud of Drew to grow up into. Hallie, introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah.
I'm Hallie, and what do I do? So I live in Austin, Texas. I have 2 permanent children that I adopted, and I always say in my free time, I'm a lawyer. It is really my very full-time job, but I also have many other things that I do with my time.
I think I remember that you were salutatorian or something crazy like that. I heard a story recently.
Yeah, people talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming a lawyer, maybe what motivated that and how that went.
So I really wanted to be a performing artist of some kind. So grew up going to every kind of school you can imagine. So I was born in Dallas, went to private school, went to public school, went to teeny tiny private school, and then wanted to go to big giant Texas high school so that I could do theater and choir.
No way.
Did that in high school and then went off to college. I went to a tiny liberal arts school where I had really wanted to major in everything. And so I started out doing the classic combination of math and theater.
Wow.
And then ended up doing physics and vocal performance instead with a minor in math. So I just get bored easily, basically. So I am an Enneagram 7. I have very bad ADHD. So I do better when I have a lot of things going on, a lot of tabs open in my brain. My junior year, I guess, I started thinking, okay, I don't really want to be a physicist. It was a natural transition from math and I needed to major in something. And then I wasn't going to be a full time singer. And so the obvious choice was law school.
That's right. Meet in the middle.
Yeah, my dad is a lawyer, and
Okay.
so he kind of did, what he could to dissuade me from becoming a lawyer because, he is a great lawyer and I think mostly has enjoyed being a lawyer, but there are, a lot of lawyers you don't want to be like out there. And so my junior year, I applied for Teach for America to teach in low income communities or law school. And I just said, I'm going to go wherever the Lord kind of opens up a door to go. I did not want to pay for law school. And so I actually ended up getting a full scholarship to law school. And so decided I should do that. So yeah, it kind of just set me on a path and went to law school, had a really great time.
So I didn't know you were into theater. Like,
Yeah.
what's your favorite musical if you have one?
Oh, that's a hard call. So my sister Emma and I go to New York we try to go every year. Some years we don't make it and then we go 2 times the next year, but we go see as many Broadway shows as we can. And then we have a group of I think about 10 people who go see all the Broadway shows that come to Austin.
Mhm.
So favorite show, I have so many, but I really like Come From Away.
Okay.
Have you heard of Come From
I
Away?
haven't.
So it's a musical about on 9/11, planes that were flying over the Atlantic Ocean had to do emergency landings in Newfoundland,
Whoa.
which no one, including me, knows anything really about.
Yeah.
But basically, this town of, I don't know, like 5,000 people wound up hosting all of these giant international flights for like 6 days before they reopened the international airspace.
My God.
And so it's a musical about this tiny town and all the people that wind up flying there and them learning about 9/11. And it's just like, it's heartwarming, it's interesting, and it's based on a true story. So
Wow.
I love that one. Yeah.
So where would you rate the following? Because I
Mhm.
love musical theater.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We
Like
could just talk about that for
yeah, I mean, actually, this is just a musical theater podcast
Yeah,
now.
that's great.
So
I've
I'm
never been on one of
thinking,
those.
like, yeah, this is it, and we actually perform in the middle. I don't know if
Oh,
you're
so
ready for
great.
that.
Yeah,
but,
impromptu.
okay, but let's see, like, Les Mis, Dear Evan
Mm.
Hansen, The Greatest Showman, which isn't actually Broadway, but one of my favorite musicals. Trying to think what else. Obviously, Wicked, which
Mhm.
is really big right now. Man, oh wait, is it Waiters or Waitresses?
Waitress.
Waitress, which I
Mhm.
loved. The Book of Mormon. Trying to think
Classic.
what else.
Hamilton?
Hamilton. Oh, duh.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where would you rank those? Like, that's a big group, but
Yeah, they're all so different. I always tell people so some of our friends, Rachel and Michael McCoy, are going to New York this upcoming weekend, and they are going to see their first ever, I think, New York musical.
wow.
And so they asked me and Emma what they should see with it's not cheap to see musicals in New York, and they have limited time. They have a sitter.
Mhm.
So they're going to go see Hamilton
Yep.
because, once you're spending money to go see a New York show, I would go see Hamilton. That would be my thing. So yeah, I would say like of all time, probably Hamilton, Wicked, Book of Mormon, definitely,
Mhm.
Waitress.
Mm.
Oh, it's hard. It's so hard to rank because it's just different
Yeah,
moods.
that's
It's kind of like
true.
what's your comfort movie? It's like, well, how am I feeling?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would go see all of those and just see 8 shows a week and be such a happy person. That's
Yeah.
definitely my retirement plan.
I mean, as it should be.
Any day now. Yeah.
When I went to any day now. When Anna and I went to London, I don't know, 2 years ago, we saw Hamilton in London. And I would say it was a very interesting experience because the time we went to see them was also US or World Cup qualifiers or something.
Uh-huh.
US versus England was same day. And this guy next to me, very English, he taps me on the shoulder. You could tell I'm American. He taps me on the shoulder and he goes, I think you guys win this one, but I think we're gonna win the soccer game today. And I was like, nice. But
Touche.
yeah, I was like, of course, touche. But
In
anyway,
this one.
that's right.
That's
That's like the
amazing.
American
Yeah.
Revolution. Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah.
But it's just super funny. So are you an intellectual property lawyer? Is the next question I should ask, since you mentioned that you'd be good for interviewing for that.
No, but that is kind of how I got interviews, I think, originally
Okay.
at big law firms. So I started out working for a big law firm in Dallas after I graduated law school. I worked for a federal judge for a year and then went to a big law firm and started doing intellectual property litigation. So
Okay.
fighting about patents, trademarks, trade secrets, things like that. And then sort of generalized a little bit from there because I didn't want to just do that.
Mhm.
Um, and now today I do something a little bit different. I'm still doing litigation, but I do fiduciary litigation, which is basically any fights involving wills, trusts, partnerships that have gone bad, anyone who like owes anyone else a duty to do the right thing.
Mhm.
And then they're fighting about it
Yeah.
is kind of what I do now.
Sounds like a joy.
It is.
Um, what does
Never a
that
dull moment,
I
really.
was gonna ask, what does that look like on a day-to-day or maybe week-to-week basis with your work?
Yeah, so now I'm at the point in my career where I really am supervising and still litigating, but really trying to spend a lot of my time helping younger lawyers build their skills as a trial lawyer and their knowledge of this area of law. I'm an owner in my law firm too. And so I would say probably a third of my time is spent on law firm
Yeah.
management and probably a third on practicing law and a third on training and supervising other people.
I guess my question is, do you like all of those or
I think that's always the question
I
with
mean,
any
I'm
like
just
business owning.
yeah.
Um, I don't like HR
Yeah.
type things.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really enjoys having to give people
Mhm.
constructive feedback
Constructive, yeah.
or firing or figuring out. Just there's a lot of feelings management in what I do. So those are not my favorite things. I do like the business strategy. In law school, you get zero
Yeah.
of anything besides learning how to practice law.
Mhm.
Everything from accounting, how do we get people to pay us?
Mhm.
What software do we use? Does anyone know how it works?
Mhm.
All of those things end up being on my plate and the other partner's plate in one way or another. And we're just kind of learning it on the fly.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten better and we have so many people helping us now, but it's just it's like whack-a-mole all the time,
Seriously.
like as soon as you're like this pops up, then you're like, "Oh, there's something wrong with our taxes." Okay?
Yeah.
That and it really like you may find this too, but it's like I can think my day is going to go one way, like this is how I should spend the next 9 hours and by 10 a.m.
Mhm.
something has just like come up that has to take priority over everything else.
Yeah.
Do you like all of it equally, or what do you like to do?
No, I think I got into my position because I was good at the production sales
Mhm.
side, and I think that's what I enjoyed the most, but I just there's me and one other person at my company that account for probably, oh gosh, probably like 80% of revenue. And so we both have to do production,
Yeah.
a third of our time. But that's what I was going to ask you is like, do you love the fact that you own your company, or did you always think that you wanted to do this, or did you want to be a lawyer just in a business where you didn't have to think about all these problems?
I mean, I feel like my career has taken like 100
Yeah.
twists and turns just as my life has, you know, kind of gone along.
Mhm.
Um, but I started out just working all the time in big law, which is, where a lot of people start and you genuinely do nothing really besides work and sleep. It's just 80, 100-hour weeks and you get really good training. I had really great friends. But it was just, you can't add on anything else like
Mhm.
being a parent or, some people do and they make it work. But I was like, I can't do
Mhm.
both of these things well.
So, do you feel like the choice to own your own practice was just enmeshed in wanting to become a mother and do this whole thing, or do you think it was separate from that?
Yeah, no, I think so that was probably when I was about to be 30 ish.
Mhm.
And I really was thinking, I had some mentors who had kids. I mean, people in my law firm had children, but just the way they had to parent was so different from what I wanted to do. Just, lots and lots of outside help, and some of them are built for it. They're doing a fantastic job, but I just knew I also had a very strong suspicion that I would be parenting kids who are not, you know, totally neurotypical and biologically mine. And so it's like, I'm going to need a lot more margin to be able to do that in the way that I want to do it. And so that was really the beginning of kind of like stepping back and thinking, okay, how can I build this in a way that leaves some margin for
Mm.
kids really in my life?
Yeah, and I asked Ashley this earlier, and I'll ask you too. Why do you think our group has gravitated towards kids? Do you think our group has gravitated towards kids with special needs or extenuating circumstances, or do you think it's just that that's happened that way? What's your take on
Yeah.
that?
I think that it has probably helped that some of us who were doing this 8 years ago
Right.
have kids with disabilities, because
Mm.
I think it makes it less scary and less like, I don't know anyone who's doing that. And the other part of it, I think, is that you realize when you get into the space of foster care and caring for kids who have trauma and unknown backgrounds, you're going to have a higher incidence of
Yeah.
having some level of disability or special needs or just significant trauma that you need to, I mean, very few I've met have had needed no
Yeah.
therapy, needed no anything.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of both of those things, but I do think we have definitely encouraged, I mean, Katie and I have encouraged people to think both realistically about who they can care for, but also encourage them that if they choose to parent kids who have known disabilities, that we will give them every bit of help and guidance and encouragement and community that we possibly can. And so it's not like I'm taking a child with, who's 4 years old and not walking and I have no idea what to do. It's like, okay, we're gonna,
Yeah. Yeah.
like swoop in whether you like it or not
Yeah.
and kind of help with that. So I think it's kind of both of those things.
So let's talk about your journey into foster care in the first place. I heard this from Katie's perspective, and I would love to hear from yours. Like, what got you into it?
Yeah.
And then how did you lead this large army of people that are fostering?
Oh
Like,
boy. Yeah. Um, So I got involved in foster care when I was in high school. So National Honor Society are one of our many projects, which I cannot fathom them letting teenagers do this today.
Mhm.
But we went to back then Austin Children's Shelter was two residential houses in West Austin,
No
like
way.
in a regular neighborhood, and they were secure, but basically it was an emergency shelter where they got placed from there. So that
Yeah.
was kind of where they went when they were removed. And so we went and we would have birthday parties for the kids in the shelter. So, all the September birthdays we'd celebrate at the same time.
Mhm.
And I went and I had never heard of foster care. I didn't know what that was. I was probably, 15 years old or something. And I go in and I'm just like blown away. I mean, these are kids who are going to other Austin high schools
Yeah.
who were presumably at home with their parents or other family members yesterday. And then today,
Yeah.
they now live in this random house with these random other kids and all these rules. And um, it was like, I will never be the same kind of moment. And I remember going home and telling my parents, like, did you know there are kids
Mhm.
who go to the high schools that we compete against? And,
Mhm.
that kind of thing that don't get to live at home. They don't know when they're going home. So that was my introduction was like with my peers who were in foster care. And I have done everything else in the foster world since then. So from there, I went to college and was peer mentor for kids who were not all in foster care, but it was like a couple low income schools where a lot of the kids were. And then graduated, went to law school, and was a CASA volunteer when I was in
Mm.
law school. And then
Yeah.
I was a student attorney for kids who are in foster care. Um, and then moved to Austin, and I was a mentor for teen girls who live in a group home
Mm.
and love doing that. And then I just literally thought at some point I'll get married and have a couple biological kids and I'll like figure out how to be a parent with them and then we'll become a foster family. Like it was never I never even remember making a decision. I just was like, that's what's gonna happen. And I remember like I just kind of kept sitting around waiting to get married. And then I think it was like right around when I was 30, I remember thinking, actually, I don't know who it was, but someone said to me, maybe the Lord, but you can do this even if you're not married. Like you could just cut that middle part and see how that's going to go and you can still foster. And I was like, that is crazy, you know. I didn't know anyone else. I barely knew other foster parents, let alone people who are doing it single. And I was a lawyer and I've always had, 900 other hobbies and volunteering and all that kind of stuff. I was leading a huge Bible study at the time and I but I just couldn't stop kind of thinking about it once that thought, occurred to me, which I think happens to many of us who have these callings. And I started to, drop the kind of idea with like my parents and, other people where I'm like, just someday I might be thinking about that. And then eventually, I guess within a year, started going through the licensing process and, um, yeah, became licensed, I think at 32, I guess, and started fostering from there. And it just was kind of a different timeline and different circumstances than I had thought, but it was like very, very clear to me that I should be doing that, you know?
Did you ever have fear? I mean, genuinely, like I think when we decided to be foster parents, I remember Caitlin and Anna brought Iñaki and I to the info session, and Iñaki and I were texting that night, like, we're never doing this. We're like,
Famous last words.
yeah, we're like, we don't want to do this at all. And I remember for that year that after that, going through the cohort, both of us were still like, we're not doing it. And then eventually they became fully certified. We became fully certified. And even at that point, there was still resistance on both of our ends. Eventually, we just fell in love with those kids and now we're super for it. But it took a long time for either of us to be invested. And I'm scared that if I was a single person or if he was, we might not have ever done it.
Yeah.
Were you scared? Did you feel like determined and ready to do it the whole time? Or did you ever have apprehension?
Um, I am just a big risk taker.
Yeah.
I love it. So I wouldn't say I was ever scared of fostering. Definitely the fear of, especially when I was a new foster parent, having kids that I was completely attached to leave was like probably one of the worst things that I've ever gone through. So there's definitely that like fear of like this relationship and this life that I built with this kid and them leaving and then me having no control over like what's happening or, all of that. So that I feel like those are the things as opposed to like jumping in it in the first place, that really got me.
For me personally, the moment that our foster kid moved on was probably one of the harder things I've ever been through in my
Yeah.
life. And I know for some of my friends is the same thing. How many times did that happen for you? And how did you deal with that? Especially because at the time you were doing it, there probably wasn't support group or,
Nope.
yeah.
No. Um, so I've had 3 long-term
No
placements
way.
leave.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
so my first one was the most excruciating, which I think it is for many people, not
Yeah.
that it's nothing to do with the kids, it's just that everything about foster care is so unnatural. Like this is not the way that it was supposed to be.
Mm.
And you feel that with at least I feel that with every aspect of it. Like a kid that you didn't know existed gets plopped into your family. You're supposed to and do like eventually become their family for a season. And then they're supposed to just like back uproot out of your family and go to another family. And you're supposed to kind of be like, well, that's the job I was supposed to do. Like none of this is natural.
Yeah.
Like so my first kid came to me at 3 days old from the hospital. I
Wow.
had been licensed for maybe 24 hours when I got the call for him. And, I think also with newborns or babies, it's extra, extra, it's really good for them that you are attached to them. But I feel like it's just
Mhm.
fall in love with them and then they think you're their parent and you're like, shoot, I'm
Mhm.
probably not going to be. And it's so, and you hate that for them and for you. And so he was with me for maybe 4 months or something. I'm a brand new parent,
Yeah.
brand new foster parent. And they started asking me if I would adopt him. And that was a whole nother thing because I had really imagined myself being, the champion of reunification. And
Yeah.
he just had totally like no parents involved at all situation and no other family. And so I went through an existential crisis. And, he was a black boy. And I was just thinking, okay, so this like single white lady, like it just seems so cliche. And
Mm.
am I the best fit for him? And he now thinks I'm his mom. So after all this, wrestling, I was like, I will do it. Um, so I finally said yes, like around like 6 months old. And, like all these, everybody praying for me for this decision. And then, like, within a month, they find an aunt
No.
and uncle,
Oh my gosh.
which, and this is I learned so much about how the system works and doesn't work and all that kind of stuff, but there was a lot of they could easily have known about them week 1, like, he could have gone to them and not me, basically, and it took them another 6 months to decide if they were the right placement or I was, and I know you guys had some similar, so much back and forth, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, I'm remaining open to adopting this kid if he needs it, but also they wanna adopt him,
Mhm.
and also, how do I keep parenting him and attaching to him knowing that he could leave at any moment or not, and it was just the hardest thing, and he left, like, a couple days before he turned 1, so I
Wow.
had him for that whole, first year, and I've never been so sad and just yeah, like, going through that and thinking about, like I mostly was I mean, I was very sad for me, but I just kept imagining him, like, waking up and wondering where I was
Yeah.
and just,
Oh
like I'm
gosh.
like, "It's horrible,"
Yeah.
and, like, he's turning 9 this
Wow.
is that right? I think 9 this Christmas. So it's crazy, but and it's gotten a little bit easier, I think, since then, just I've learned how to, like, protect my heart a little bit more while also being fully in, which is so hard. Because like I feel like kids deserve, to have people around them who are like
Oh,
going to
they
miss them,
understand. Yeah.
like
Yeah. I wanted to hear what ended up prompting you and Katie to start what you were doing, or how
yeah.
did that all begin?
So that kind of came about in a wild way. So at the very beginning of COVID, we had a pastor at our church doing a sermon series on mercy and justice. And the first time in my life, I've been in many, many churches that knew I was involved in foster care, who had foster care groups. The first time ever, I had a pastor reach out to me and ask if he could run his sermon by me because he was going to preach about foster care. And I was like, totally mind blown.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of humility and just kind of, I think that's great to like ask somebody who's actually, involved.
Mhm.
And so I gave him some ideas of just how to talk about, everything in foster care world is very fraught. Like, how do you talk about the biological parents? How do we talk about what causes this? Is there a villain here? Like all of these kind of things. And so I talked to him about that. And after our conversation, he said, "What if you teach a class? Like we offer a class at the end of the sermon on just getting involved in foster care
Mm.
for anyone who's interested." And so I said, "That's great." And so Katie Rose and I asked Katie if she wanted to do the class with me. We had no idea what it would even be, or I think literally 5 minutes before it, we were like, "What should we talk about?" Which is kind of our style.
Yeah.
Um, and we wound up doing a two-part class, and I think we had 100 people come, and we had something like, I wanna say 20 or 30 people say they
No
wanted
way.
to talk about becoming a foster parent, and then a ton of people who wanted to support. And so that became a foster care ministry,
Wow.
basically. And from that came our first cohort, which are, groups of foster parents that we did kind of an intentional 6-month group with as they were becoming licensed. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there. We wound up I think we've now done maybe 4 or 5 sets of
Wow.
cohorts, and it's just kind of taken on a life of its own
It
ever
really
since then.
has. It really
Yeah.
has. And so, like, when you started it, did you think that you're gonna have a large army of people around you and then maybe end up having the Pinterest moms group? Did you envision any of that? And what has it meant to you?
No, I mean, So when I started, I told Ashley this the other day. I don't think I knew another local foster parent when I became a foster parent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not. I mean, I didn't have any group. I think I attended a couple of different little community sessions at different churches that were, quarterly and kind of meet and greet. My
Mhm.
agency had a little group, but just there's nothing that was the same people kind of walking through this together. Um, and so, yeah, it really came together very organically. And um, I mean, our community has shaped everything about my life, really, and how I parent, how I handle situations. I mean, most of those people are the people who give me advice about everything that's going on. Katie and I also lead a group at through Foster Village for foster moms, and it's just wild because we will have people come who do not know have been foster parents for some time and do not know another foster parent.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I would do it.
Yeah.
The statistics are that most people quit after their first placement, and the number one reason that people cite is because nobody gets it, they have no support, they're lonely, because it is like just a totally different type of parenting, type of
Yeah.
situation. Again, like no one else just has a kid dropped into their family and you just deal with whatever comes your way and then poof, they're out of your family and then poof, they're back. And just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just crazy. Like the things that we talk about, the things that become normal to us are just not normal to other people.
Totally. And how did you decide, and when did you decide, or did you decide what kids to adopt, what kids to not? Or is it like that first kid where you decided yes and didn't do it? Couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Really after I kind of faced the am I willing to be an adoptive parent question with the first kid, I felt for me, my personal conviction was if I had a kid that I was fostering that I felt like I could be a competent parent to who needed adoption, that was going to be my plan. Is basically like I didn't want kids to have to I'm not shopping for the right kid. And I didn't want kids to have to break their attachment with me and form it with someone else unless I can't be the parent that kid needs, which is certainly true for some,
Hmm.
kids and some parents,
Yeah.
just depending on what's going on. Or even just like you don't have that affection for them or something. And I was like, if those things are lining up, I'm not going to overthink. Like if I'm ready to be a permanent parent to a child, then it probably will be one of the ones that I'm fostering that eventually needs that. And then when Raina, my daughter, came along, she was 3 months old, and you know, we had a long time where we didn't know whether she would need to be adopted or be able to go home to family or something. But once it became kind of clear that that was the plan, I didn't have any debate or I mean, it was just like, that's I'm here for that if that's what she needs.
Yeah. And so, like, when it comes to the eventual adoption of Reina and then Remy, your next kid, how do you decide? I know Ashley and I just talked about it. Like, we're both about to open up our house again. Where's the line between this is what God's called me
Yeah.
to, and this is what's best for my kids and
Oh,
my family?
man.
Do you know how to
Well, it
walk the
gets
line?
more complicated, I think.
I bet it does. Yeah.
Because when it's just you, it's like I was just as open when I started fostering to a 17-year-old girl who I'm trying to get to come home occasionally, or my house is here for you to as a safe place or whatever, all the way down to a baby. And I just ended up getting placed with a baby.
Yeah.
And so then I've had mostly young kids, but it gets so much harder when you're planning around, as you guys know,
Yeah.
your other child, other children. I don't feel done fostering at all.
Yeah.
Then I'm like faced with the reality of how much kids who are like my kids, who both have disabilities and both have significant trauma, like how much they need from me now and how much they might need in the future, and that I'm one person, which is like very dumb, but the reality, you
Yeah.
know? And so I feel like to me it definitely feels like this internal like push and pull between doing what's wise. Like I don't want to do it because I'm afraid that it's going to be like too much sacrifice for me. Like that to me is not going to be my reason.
Yeah.
But there is this like obvious truth about what my kids need, and one thing I've learned from leading all these different groups is that we have all the time adopted parents coming to foster village who adopted 10 years ago,
Mm.
and their kids have been like mostly, little things that they could handle. And then they hit like preteen, teen years as an adopted kid. And it becomes harder in different ways. And I'm like, I don't want, even if I can handle, 4 little kids, like what if I have 4 teenagers and what they need from me is like 90% of me each, you know?
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's that constant yeah, push and pull of like what's best for us as a family, but also my kids are going to learn that the point is not for them to get everything they want and for
Yeah.
them to be happy all the time at the expense of other people. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't exactly know where that leaves us, but
Yeah.
that's those are the things I think
I
about.
mean, it's super complicated because it
Yeah.
feels like the people that are really good foster parents and the people that are warriors for what we do are ending up in these situations where they adopt a kid or maybe they have a bio kid and then it all slows down. It's like we're almost running out
Yeah.
of capable numbers of people to tackle the issue that is coming up. And so I was curious what your thoughts are on that.
Mhm.
Like how, I mean, even your sister,
Yeah.
like, what would you say to all the people that are like, I have a kid? I don't know.
So, I mean, I think it's such a personal decision, but I do think that the way I come at foster care is that I'm super convinced the point of my life is not to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And so, does that mean I need to be the most uncomfortable at all times? No. It's like,
Yeah.
I know the Lord wants us to enjoy life and, but I do think doing things that are sacrificial is also joyful a lot of the
Yeah.
time, and hilarious, and it brings all this community and all these friends, but I do think more than anything we need new foster parents
Yeah.
because, and this is always kind of the joke in this world, is that you have like 0.1% of the people doing 100% of the work.
Yeah.
I think it's smarter for me and for Katie and for other people at some point to mostly be supporting new foster parents than for
Yeah.
us to be adding on the third, fourth, fifth, sixth
Totally. Totally.
kid. But that does require the pyramid scheme
It
that
does. It
we're
is a pyramid scheme.
we gotta be
It's a,
bringing new
yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone pays a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. You have to pay your entry fee and then you grow.
Bring in somebody else,
That's right. Honestly, you join, you have to get someone else to join.
Yeah.
And so kind of past the foster care thing, or I guess let's go back to it. What would you say to someone that's like on the fence about maybe doing it? Let's do that. Let's
Mm.
talk about that.
I think if it's on your heart, you should do it and should
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah.
And you should be brave about doing something that is hard. Um, I feel genuinely sad and sorry for people who do not get to experience anything like this
Yeah.
because it has stretched me as a person. It's grown my heart. It's helped me encounter what other people's lives are like. Like, it'd be so easy for me to just live in a world where if I don't wanna hear about something sad or real, I don't have to.
Yeah.
And I just think what's the point of living a life ultimately like that? Like, that sounds like fun, but it also sounds kind of dull and, eventually what's the point? You're just kinda making yourself happy,
Yeah.
sorta. But I've experienced so much joy and even like, gathering around a foster parent who has just said goodbye to a kid. Like how many times I've gone to somebody's house or like, I went to you guys' party that ended up being also a going away party for other
That's
kids.
right. Yeah. Those other kids are like, wow, you threw a party
Yeah.
for us. We're like,
Like,
yeah.
because we ended up having, I guess, like 3 kids leaving
Leaving at the
within
same
a
time.
short amount of time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, just even going to that and like crying and hugging somebody else who's crying and then being like, we all get it. And then just that we all get to be in this world together. It's like, would any of us choose to not have any of the heartache and the difficulty, but also not have any of the joy and the love and the community and like, so I just, I even think of like friends of ours who have 2 little boys that
Yeah.
their lives are, they've had them for less than a year.
Yeah.
And these kids have gone from being in diapers at, 4 and 6 years old and not really talking
Yeah.
to one of them is reading fluently. They're both potty trained. They're both the sweetest kids. And
Mhm.
I'm like, even whatever happens from here, just that like 10 months has changed their lives
Yeah.
thanks to their sacrifice of their parents.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just say, just do it. Like it will suck you in if you get involved.
Yeah.
And like worst case scenario, you do it for a year and you say, I don't have what it takes. But I just think it's a shame to not like to 30 years from now wonder if you could have been involved, you know?
Yeah. I was in church this weekend, and I felt very convicted about the fact that since we had our foster kid leave and I went through all the sadness, and we were also pregnant. Our baby
Mhm.
was born like a month
Yeah.
after he
Yeah.
left.
Pretty
Uh,
emotional time.
it was emotional time, but I
Really close
like
time.
I totally got into this mindset of like self-preservation and thinking, right now my daughter has nothing but love around her
Yeah.
and no drama or trauma. And I think on my level, having been a foster kid,
Mhm.
there's a part of me that just wants to prevent that for her.
Totally.
Because I'm just trying to do it for myself in some weird way. But the reality is, I was convicted at church thinking about life isn't easy for
Yeah.
anybody, and like hard things are going to happen. And so
Mhm.
it's really good to, I feel like it should be a good thing to expose the kids to what it looks like to love and lead and put ourselves out there right now.
Mhm.
So anyway, I think we're taking another foster placement in October,
Yeah.
but I think for Remy and Reina, do you worry about, I don't know, exposing them to more heartache and loss? Like they're old
Yeah.
enough now to understand what's happening a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, yeah, I do in a way, but okay, I'll tell you something crazy is that they are, especially Raina, so they are the ideal like foster kid welcoming committee.
Are
Like
Reina
we
definitely.
had a baby for a weekend like
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, and I don't know how I did not tell her that he was in foster care. And before I said anything, she's literally like stroking his little head and saying, "You're safe. It's
yeah,
okay." Like, "I'm Raina," and I'm just like, I think we can sell our kids short in how they can participate, not even because we're like forcing them and like you're going to do this for others and
yeah,
you have all this stuff, but like letting them even use their own gifts and personality to do that. And honestly, we've made it such a normal part of our lives that I think it will be very I think Raina will have a very hard time in particular being probably sad if a kid lives with us for a while and
yeah,
leaves. But I also hope that the more that we talk about it and the more that we're like, this is what our family does to support others, that we can be sad together and be okay. And,
yeah,
I think that's just part of it's like, yeah, Drew's gonna go through hard things and you guys are gonna be there for her, whether this is the hard thing
yeah.
or it's a million other things.
Seriously.
And I think also like when I hear people sometimes say that they don't want their kids to, be exposed to stuff or experience that loss or whatever, I'm like, I think we're kind of selling them a little short on their own
That they
character.
experienced that already.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and just like that they are gonna surprise us, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it's kinda crazy because my kids do really well with more chaos. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
But and so it's like sometimes when people are like, "Why are you taking like 2 other kids for the weekend or whatever?" It's like my kids actually step into a
mm,
like we are the big kids role a little
yeah,
bit more, and I actually see them operating with a little bit more maturity and grace and sharing their stuff and sharing me. And of course, we'd be very thoughtful about it. I don't want it to be something if I saw that like, "Oh, we cannot handle this,"
yeah,
we would definitely like back off and do something different.
yeah,
But I think my kids are kinda ready to
yeah.
participate having been in that place themselves. Like,
Mm.
they have that connection with the kids that I don't because I didn't experience that, you know?
What a beautiful
Yeah.
testament to their healing and your parenting that they're able to like step into something that probably the most traumatic thing that they've experienced in their short lives. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so I would be remiss not to ask about this, but I genuinely don't know anything about it. So you're gonna have to be patient with me.
Yeah.
But Katie said that I needed to definitely talk to you about what it means and how it looks to be a single parent. And
Yeah.
it's like I said, something I know nothing about. But what would you say is some maybe a misconception or something that people should understand or learn from single parents?
Mm. I think a misconception and this is both about single parenting and being a parent of kids with disabilities,
Right.
but that you're just, like, innately differently wired or gifted or just have a bigger
I
capacity.
think you are. Yeah. No, I think
Because
you're
we're not actually we still have 24 hours in a day,
yeah.
and so I think sometimes people look and from the outside, they're like, "Oh," like, I mean, I think it's like a hot mess
Mhm.
and sometimes looks like a hot mess, but they'll also say like, "I could never do what you're doing on your own." And I'm like, "If you had to,
You would.
you would."
Yeah.
And that's how it is. I mean, anyone whose kid like is typically developing and then has, something happen where they now have a serious illness or they, have an accident or something and they're now a disability parent all of a sudden, they figure it out. It's not like they're like, "Well, I'm not going to be a disability."
Yeah.
So I did sign up for that knowing that that's what I was doing. Like I knew I'd be a single parent and I knew that my kids I knew for both of them that they had a variety of diagnoses and that list has, grown. But I think, yeah, that we just like we figure it out.
Do you feel as bad question,
Yeah.
but do you feel isolated? Do you feel alone? Do you feel supported?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely do sometimes. I will say, so most of the time, I mean, we have such a thriving community of moms in particular
Yeah,
and dads, but
absolutely. Mostly moms.
mostly moms.
Yeah,
I realize sometimes when the dads have the kids and we're making plans in the mom chat,
that's
and I'm
right.
like, does anyone tell like Inyaki that we're doing
Yeah,
something or you or like I'm
we
like,
talk to each other a little
yeah, I'm
bit,
like,
but not that
son,
much.
can you get I'm
That's
like,
right.
Emma's not even around, or
Yeah.
whatever. But we just have basically real time, I mean, in the moment conversations
Mm,
24/7. Like I could tell you probably what most of the kids are going through in the last week based on what advice their parents have asked for or prayers or venting or whatever. So I feel like that is really what has made it possible to do this is because if I, wake up at 6 a.m. after a terrible, terrible night of sleep, I have like three people who are
mm,
asking me, how was last night? We kept this baby
yeah.
2 weeks ago and I, he was a little baby and he was a preemie and I knew he wasn't going to be a great sleeper. And I had so many people asking me throughout the morning, like, how's it going? Did he sleep at all? Like, how can I help? So I feel like that makes it less isolating for sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is a lot of times ending the day with me and my kids in our house,
Yeah.
and I'm the one like
Doing it all.
in the yeah,
Yeah.
in the trenches with them. So, yeah, it definitely does get lonely, and, I mean, there are times where I wish I had someone else to be like, "Is this the right call?" Like, "I don't know. I'm like, we're
Yeah.
all just kinda making this up."
Yeah. Do you make space in your life right now for dating, or is that not even in the realm of possibility or interest?
It would definitely be interest.
Okay.
I feel like my bar probably the last date I went on was when Raina was, like, maybe 4, so I'm gonna say,
Okay.
like, almost 3 years ago probably,
Yeah.
but I have found, like, my bar was always pretty high,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
now, even just the amount of effort and planning.
Yeah.
So we always joke that, like, Emma has to screen them, my
Yeah.
sister, so she's gonna do, like, a virtual, like, a
Yeah.
Zoom and be like,
Yeah.
not with it,"
Interview. Yeah.
because 'Cause I'm like, "I'm gonna be paying for a sitter who knows my children," which is hard to find, also that I can go and, like, within 10 minutes be like, "Ah,"
Mhm.
But I feel very open to the right
Mhm.
situation, which would have to be a very special person at this point,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely not something where I'm like, it carved out a lot of time for or anything right now, but
Yeah.
it's something that I feel like I feel like if there is the right guy, it will just like happen.
So what do you think the younger version of you would think of who you've become? I mean, she was obviously strikingly intelligent and into so many different
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
she's probably disappointed you aren't on Broadway. But
Right.
what do you think she would say about who you are now?
In some ways I think she'd probably be like, yeah, figures, like,
Yeah.
like I think I had just as much of a chance of being like an FBI agent
Yeah.
or an ER doctor I thought
Right.
about for a while or so I think she would have been like you're going to do something that is like high adrenaline
Mhm.
that is with people, so yeah, I think she'd be like we're doing okay.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What does the word ladylike mean to you when you think of it, and how would you maybe redefine that against like what you think
Yeah.
it means to be a woman in today's society?
I talked to Raina about being a lady a lot. And
Yeah,
I do have some like
yeah,
some modesty is not the right word, but some
yeah,
body awareness maybe
that's
that
right.
we could work on.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but mostly I want her to be herself while
Mhm,
also being unfailingly kind to
mhm,
people and gracious and m- leave people feeling better about themselves than worse.
Yeah. What did your dad do right? And what can I steal from him as a girl dad or just a dad in general?
Yeah. Um, my dad was the calm, steady presence,
Mm,
and I feel like so I have a sister and 2 brothers,
mhm.
and there was not one thing that he did that I can think of that was different between any of us in terms of how what he expected from us, how he modeled things to us. When I so one example is when I went to big bad public high school, was really the first time that I had friends who had all kinds of families who spoke to each other in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
And I remember going over to someone's house and thinking like their whole family is about to implode because of the way they spoke to each other.
Yeah.
Because I cannot think of one time that my dad has spoken harshly with me, my mom, any of my siblings. I mean, even when we were in trouble, and both my parents really focused so much more on the kind of people that we were going to become than any other element of like success.
Yeah.
Someone was asking, my siblings and I are all very educated and did well in school and things. And I cannot ever remember my parents caring at all. Like
That's crazy.
maybe they did.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty self driven.
I'll give you the mic and the floor to kind of shout out anyone that has meant a lot to you, a woman or women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say definitely my mom and my sister who have just always been my examples in everything. We're all very similar and different in ways, but I always want to emulate everything that they do. I also would say like even in my, professional life, I've had so many women that have done things in the way that I thought made sense and was what I would want to do, and there's a lawyer named Susan Kennedy who worked with me at Baker Botts that just was the nicest version of a trial lawyer that I've ever met. And it also made me think, like watching her made me realize I can do this
Mm,
and not be a total a-hole about it all the
yeah.
time or ever, and
Right.
I still to this day, I mean, you can ask people who work for me, but I don't think I've ever raised my voice at anybody.
Mm,
I try to deliver all of my feedback as kindly and clearly as I can, but I just really appreciated having that example.
mm,
And then obviously all of the women in our group, I mean,
yeah.
just everyone, I feel like it's the combination of everyone's like skills and experiences and feelings. And no matter what you're going through, like someone has had that or has thought about that. And even if we very often have very different reactions to the same thing.
Yeah.
Someone will tell a story and someone has like done the ha ha response and someone's done the
The
crying
explanation.
emoji. And,
Yeah.
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 Because we can't even tell, like, are you saying this as like a bad thing or a
Yeah.
good thing? But it's great because even like talking about me and Katie, like
Yeah.
Katie is an example of someone who can have a foster placement and be thinking, how does she transition them well to somewhere else
Yes.
and provide everybody that skill set and that, she can help other people. Here's how you try to find family and build relationships with them. And then I can be somebody who says, here's what I did to take care of myself while I was mourning the loss
That's
of
right.
the kid that I had for 1 month,
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it just
Seriously.
kind of takes everybody, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to those ladies. Shout out to
Yeah.
Pinterest moms, of course.
Sponsored by Pinterest moms.
Sponsored by Pinterest moms. Okay. This will be the lightning round. We're going to do 3 questions.
Okay.
You'll answer them just from the hip, and then we'll wrap after that. The first one is, what is the pettiest hill that you'll die on?
Oh boy. The Fountain Diet Coke from Chick-fil-A is the best.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've ever had it actually, genuinely. Not
Oh,
much of a soda drinker, but
okay. Do you want to know the most extra thing about me?
yeah, please.
So law firm partners are kind of known for being
Oh yeah. I
really
need
high
my
maintenance.
2 sugars.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, everyone has stories. I
Yeah.
worked for somebody who did not like the regular size hole punch, in the 3-hole punch
Yeah.
because it had friction when you turn the pages.
Right.
So he had his own hole punch that made
Bigger.
huge holes,
Okay.
and you would get in big trouble,
If
yelled
you use the
at.
small one,
Yeah.
of course.
My only high maintenance thing, I tell this to my whole team, is that Riley, I don't, you met Riley,
Yeah,
Rocco's there.
Riley. Yeah.
So Riley and I are law partners. at, about 2 o'clock every day. We DoorDash Diet Cokes
No way.
from Chick-fil-A,
Chick-fil-A.
and we do have a preferred location.
Oh my gosh.
So that is
They're
the
like really
closest
good at
thing.
that specific location.
Yeah, and do we have canned Diet Coke in the
Yeah.
fridge? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it the same?
No.
No. So that is my high maintenance.
Shout out to the
Okay.
Westlake Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Villages of Westlake.
That's what I was
Also
thinking.
not willing to be sponsored.
I was like, it's probably that one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
okay. And then that would probably answer my next question is what's your serial killer trait, but that might be it.
Yeah, that might be it. I do a
Uh,
lot of puzzles though. I feel like if they like a New York Times
yeah.
games.
Oh, you do those?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Anna does those all the
Oh
time,
man.
all day, every day. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing?
I do the Wordle connections, spelling bee.
Maybe tell this camera where people can get connected to foster care programs in
Yeah.
the city of Austin. And then I will do a little sign out after that.
Yeah. So
Or they can find your law practice too. Sorry.
yeah, my law firm is Hardy L. Kozer, and we do fiduciary litigation, probate, estate planning in Austin, and really all of the surrounding counties. Um, for foster care, highly recommend getting plugged in with Foster Village, which is I think fostervillage.org. And if you want to talk about agencies or anything like that, you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm Hallelujah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's back with my super Instagram days.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Mhm.
Incredible. Is that like a hyphen or a dot?
I think it's HAL.LIE.LU.JAH. So it's
I mean,
Hallelujah.
that is incredible.
One of my cousins, when I was really young, her name's Julia. And so she would always say, if you put Hallie Julia together, you get Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And so that's always been like one of my hilarious nicknames. Yeah.
Halle Julia.
Yep.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having
And
me.
it's seriously been a joy. I love hearing about your perspective of the whole foster care thing because I was just a little baby that showed up to your info session one time, and now we've done it and we're going to keep doing it. So,
Oh.
and we're hoping for more people.
See,
But
once you're in, it just
you're locked
gets its
in.
claws in you.
They lock you in.
Yeah.
Thanks again for listening, guys. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at ladylike_podcast. You can find us on YouTube at ladylike the girl dad podcast. DM us and let us know anything that we can improve on, any questions you might have. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Hey, y'all. Thanks again for listening. Here are my dad reflections from this episode. Hallie reminded me that courage rarely feels certain. It looks like choosing people over polish when life is messy, and this week I'm practicing the following 5 steps. 1. Say yes today. Say yes to the next faithful thing before I feel ready. So text back, make the call, show up, be there. 2. People over plan. Drop the perfect script and be with people. 3. Truth and tenderness. I really want to focus on telling the truth, but being kind about it. Hallie talked a lot about it in her practice and how she does that. 4, build a table. Ask for help. Invite people over and make enough room for people to be in your life to support you. 5, sustainable love. Rest without guilt so that we can show up again tomorrow. Those are the 5 things I'm taking away from Hallie, and I hope to implement them into my life. Thank you again so much for listening today. I really love the product that we're putting out here with Ladylike. Of course, I'm always looking to improve. So if you have any feedback, DM me at ladylike_pod on Instagram or TikTok. Love to start a conversation there. You can also find us on the website, ladylikepodcast.com. Our merch store is launched. We've got some cool stuff. I vetted it with a lot of my friends who are more fashionable than I. So feel free to check that out. The pricing on there is probably going to be lowered soon because I'm just going to sell it at market value, no profit, so that we can promote the product for what it is now. And if you're here early, you get to get in on the good stuff. Anyway, thank you again so much for taking the time to listen. Next week, I think we'll be joined by Heather Bauer. She's an incredible woman, a mentor to my wife, which is says more than I could possibly ever say. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation and sharing it with you guys. Thank you again. See you on the next one.